Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hey guys, happy Monday. I'm so glad you're back for another episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. We are on episode 9. My name is Lil, and I am beyond excited to talk about this topic with you today. And that's because I know it's something you've struggled with. I don't think there's one single person out there that has not struggled with consistency, and that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to teach you how to create consistency in your own healthy habits. Before we get started, I just want to remind you that if you're new here, head on back to episode 1 and you can just learn a little bit more about this podcast and see if this is something that you want to keep tuning into and that you will find helpful. If you're someone who's been listening to the podcast and you're really enjoying what we talk about here, I would really appreciate if you would take just 30 seconds and go and give me a 5-star review, maybe write a little something about why you enjoy it so much. So many of you have reached out to me personally and told me, and I would love if you could share those thoughts in the review section of the podcast app. It would mean so much to me. Okay, so as I was saying, today we're going to talk about consistency. And the day that this is airing, we're about halfway through January, so that means the holiday hangover has pretty much worn off. All the holidays are in the rearview mirror, and we're looking forward to 2023 and setting some new goals. I know it can be so motivating when you first start something new. Motivation is a great way to get started, but it's not necessarily going to fuel you all the way through towards your goals. And committing to those habits is where we really need to create the consistency. So no matter where you are in your healthy habits journey, if you are someone who's really got a solid way of doing things that's really working for you, but you are always looking to level up, this podcast episode is still going to be really helpful to you. And if you're someone who's really struggling and you're just like, oh my gosh, I really want to make some changes, but I just am not sure how, then I have good news for you, because I'm going to be sharing with you guys the 4 essential healthy habit routines that are a game changer, whether you want to level things up or you're just getting started and you really just have this idea that, I'm not really enjoying where I am and I really want to have a better way of integrating healthy habits into my life, and I just don't even know where to start. This podcast episode is for you. So I know that you struggle with consistency because after coaching women in my online fitness groups for over 9 years, it's the number one thing that they struggle with. When they would reach out to me for help, it was often the first thing they said when they were explaining to me what they were struggling with and why they were frustrated and what they wanted the most help with. And typically someone is highly motivated when they first get started. I mean, when I think about New Year's resolutions, the first thing that comes to my mind is going into our refrigerators and pantries and just throwing out all these foods that we think are bad, and going to the grocery store and getting all these fruits and veggies and lean meats, and really just going full throttle with both the food and then also the fitness, trying to work out 5 or 6 days a week, even if you haven't worked out a day in over a decade. And so many people start off, again, highly motivated and really making these huge changes. And that's really exciting and easy to do because it's usually just a day or so, maybe a week or so, where you're really diving into these really extreme, taking a leap type of new habits. But today I want to share some ideas on approaching things differently, because I know that even when we start very strong, and I almost feel like that's almost a recipe for disaster for most people, is to start really strong like that and not really look at how realistic these changes are going to be. That is where people struggle. They give up. They feel like they have to throw in the towel because it's just so overwhelming to make such an extreme change. So when I work with my clients, my goal is to help them create healthy habits that are easy to stick to, that are streamlined, and just become second nature, like brushing your teeth. I'm guessing that when you woke up this morning, you didn't have a little argument in your head of whether or not you should or should not brush your teeth. And maybe you had an argument like that about whether or not you should or should not do your workout. And I picture like a little devil on one shoulder, an angel on your other shoulder. And sometimes we have these little arguments in our head with one part of our brain saying, you know, you need to do something. And the other part of your brain is saying, no, you don't need to do that. That's uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Let's just go back to doing things the way we were doing them before. But when it comes to brushing your teeth, I'm guessing you woke up, picked up your toothbrush, you grabbed your toothpaste, you brushed your teeth, and you didn't even think twice about it because it's just something that you do. It's who you are. You're someone who brushes your teeth. And I want to help you have that same experience with your healthy habits, so that your healthy habits are just as ingrained in you as brushing your teeth. So when you are thinking about your choices and how you get moving in, how you eat, how you sleep, your approach to those day-to-day, moment-to-moment decisions, I want that to be really easy for you. And one of the biggest hurdles that we have when it comes to sticking with healthy habits is that decision fatigue, where we're having to make those choices over and over and over again. Now, deciding to brush your teeth is not something that gives you decision fatigue. That decision was already made decades ago when your parents were like, listen, you got to brush your teeth or else you're going to have stinky breath, you're going to get cavities, and it's just not good for you. So you better brush your teeth. And so you've just done it. You don't have to make that decision every day. And when we do have to make those decisions about whether or not we're going to do our workout, what foods we're going to eat, what time we're going to go to bed, when we have to make those decisions over and over and over again and have that little argument in our brain with ourselves on both sides of our brain, then we get fatigued and we get tired. And what do? We just revert back to the decision of least resistance. We revert back to the old habits that we're comfortable with, that are ingrained in us because those are the habits that we have just kept up for a period of time. And I know this because I've been there, and I really struggled the most with this decision fatigue when I was following plans that just felt really out of alignment with how I wanted to live my life, when they felt very extreme, when they really required me to separate myself from situations, from food, from sleep, from all kinds of things where I was sticking to this very regimented plan to the point where I wasn't enjoying my day-to-day life. And that's where I got that decision fatigue. And that's where I just knew it wasn't going to be sustainable. So there's a chance you could be listening to this right now, and maybe you just signed up for some weight loss boot camp, and you are realizing that the things that you're being asked to do or told to do are just really not enjoyable, and you cannot imagine yourself doing those things happily for the next 3 months, next 6 months, or the next 10 years. So if you're in a situation like that, really listen to this episode, because I really hope that it can empower you to start making choices that are still in alignment with your goals, but will be more enjoyable for you and also come easily for you. So how do we solve this problem of, on one hand, we really have this ideal way of looking, of living, we have health goals. We have this idea of what healthy means, like what it looks like, what it tastes like, and we want to get there. But the way that we're currently making those choices day after day of whether or not to do a workout, what foods to eat, what time we go to bed, what time we wake up, those daily habits that you have right now, because believe me, you have habits right now, they just might need some tweaking to get you to your goals. We need to get you from point A to point B. So how do we do that in a way that is really enjoyable? Well, what we do is we create these 4 essential routines. And while you may start by following a certain template or seeing what someone else is doing and trying to duplicate that for yourself, what I suggest is the real magic happens when you really take ownership and you really figure out what does and does not work for you. So, all right, let's dive in. What is that first essential routine? I actually suggest that my clients start with an evening routine. And this is because at night, you are going to set yourself up for success the next day. And you probably have a few pockets of time where you can just do maybe 2 or 3 things before you go to bed so that your morning can be easier. I really recommend using, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes at night, to do things that are going to make, number one, less decisions for you in the morning. If you lay out exactly what clothes you're going to wear the next day, whether it's your workout clothes and, your regular outfit for the day, that is one decision that you do not have to make when you're waking up in the morning and, you're not quite as alert and your brain isn't moving quite as quickly. You can make that decision ahead of time, and that's going to save you time and energy in the morning. I also recommend thinking about what you're going to eat, and if there's anything you can do to make that a little easier, maybe just like put your banana next to the blender, pull out the protein powder if you're going to have a protein shake, just do a little bit of prep at night so that you can have an easier morning. As I mentioned in episode 2, I am a big believer in running your dishwasher every night. And this can seem like such a small thing, but it is so impactful to wake up in the morning to a clean dishwasher where you can just quickly empty everything and then immediately start your day without having a backlog of dirty dishes. Before we go any further, I should say that these routines that I'm talking about, I am not just talking about your fitness, your nutrition, your mindset. I'm talking about everything that your life entails. You are more than just your healthy habits. You are a complete person. You most likely share your house with other people or pets that, in some way you are probably responsible for them, for feeding them. So when it comes to my evening routine, I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about how can I set my whole family up for success a little bit better in the morning. I also really recommend even just setting a timer for 5 to 10 minutes and just, quickly doing a quick declutter or quickly cleaning out the sink. Just setting a timer for 5 minutes, you can be amazed at what you can accomplish. That when you wake up in the morning, you're going to notice things are just a little bit more organized, a little bit cleaner, and you'll be so glad. And one thing I like to say about your evening routine, if you do an effective evening routine, think of it like you are being a best friend to yourself. And in the morning when you wake up and you see that coffee cup next to the coffee maker, you see that banana next to the smoothie maker, you see those workout clothes sitting on your bench in your bedroom, you are going to say, thank you so much, friend, yourself from last night. And you are just being a friend to yourself. And most likely you're someone that likes to do things for other people to make their lives a little easier. So do the same for yourself. So that's why I recommend starting with an evening routine. Maybe even the first couple times you do it, maybe don't even do that workout in the morning. Just lay out the clothes and get yourself in the habit. It might sound silly, but it's so powerful to just start taking action, even if it's in a really small way. Another tip for your evening routine, this is so powerful and you might laugh at me, but one of the most powerful things I did when I started changing my habits is at night, I would just take maybe 30 seconds, a minute, right as I got into bed, and I would just visualize myself waking up in the morning, putting on my workout clothes, brushing my teeth, going downstairs, having a glass of water, turning on my TV, doing my workout, and I would literally take myself through exactly the steps I was going to take in the morning. And the reality is, everything happens in the mind before it happens in reality. There is absolutely nothing that you create that does not first happen in the mind. So go ahead and get your mind used to waking up and going through those steps by practicing it in your mind ahead of time, and you will be shocked at how helpful it can be. I'm not someone that really believed in that stuff until I started doing it, and I just found that it made my life a lot easier when it came to actually getting up and taking action. So, okay, evening routine. Now, let's move on. Of course, what's our next one? It is our morning routine. A morning routine feels like probably the thing that gets the most attention. Entire books have been written about how powerful a morning routine can be. You're always seeing people sharing it on YouTube and Instagram. And waking up early is often said to be, this big secret. For some reason, waking up at 5 a.m. But I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter what time you wake up, but make sure you're waking up right. And it might mean waking up early. Reality hit me when I decided I really needed to create consistency with my workouts, and I realized it wasn't going to happen if I did not wake up early. And there was a time that I was waking up at 4:45 a.m. because my kids were little and they were going to be up at 6, and I had to get that done before they got up. So that's what I did. And I went to bed early, of course, because can't really go to bed at 11 at night and wake up at 4:45 and expect that you're going to have the energy for that to stay consistent with it. But I did what I had to do, and I just found that having a morning routine was so powerful. There's so many little things you can do in the morning when most likely you're not going to be interrupted. You're starting with a fresh, clean slate, and you can really catch up on things, give yourself a little peace and quiet. and decide what types of things you want to do in the morning. As I said, entire books have been written about this with suggestions on how to spend that time and how to wake up better. And I have a couple blog posts that I can share with you, tips on how to wake up earlier. I can put all of those posts in the show notes so that if that's something you want to explore further, you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, morning routine. I know it's almost cliche at this point, but I'm going to tell you that is where the magic happens. I mean, if you have an infant or, you're really in a situation right now where waking up is not your decision, then just do what you can in that small amount of time that you have. But if you are able to control waking up just 30 minutes earlier than you currently are right now, I bet you could get a workout in, get some time to yourself, plan your day, and just have a little bit of quiet moment before the chaos starts. And I highly recommend working on creating a morning routine that really streamlines those priorities that you have in your life that are in alignment with your goals. That morning time can be that time when you check those things off your task list. Okay, now the next routine we're going to talk about is a little bit different. And I'm going to tell you it's so important. And if you've never done this before, I challenge you to do it this week. If you're listening to this on Monday when this podcast has just come out, then I want you to do this on Friday. We are talking about a weekly reset routine. So this is something that I only started incorporating in 2021, and I absolutely love it. What you do is you take some time, probably on a Friday or maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, and you look back on the week that you just finished, and you see what worked, you see what maybe didn't work, you celebrate your wins, you look at maybe what you originally had hoped to accomplish and see if maybe you need to move that to the next week. But the real special part of this is where you put on your analyzing hat, if you will, and you look at how you spent your time and the approaches that you took for the various tasks and goals of the week. And you really ask yourself what worked, what did not work, and what do I want to keep moving forward? What do I want to improve upon? And really importantly, what do I want to let go of? I mean, if your original plan at the beginning of the week was to go to a 5 a.m. boot camp and you realize that you went on Monday and didn't happen again all week, maybe that's your sign that instead of going to a boot camp, maybe you should just try working out at home, because that is not something that is in alignment with how your life works, and forcing yourself to do that just isn't going to work. So you can also apply this to your work. I often apply it to how I'm batching my time because I work from home. It can be tricky, am I giving myself enough time to get my business work done along with balancing the household stuff? And what approaches are working? Is it better to batch things, or how do I prioritize things? And there's so many different, recommendations and ways of being productive, but that's really where I look at my productivity, my planning, and ask myself if I could be a little bit more efficient and, what is and what is not working. So find the tasks that are going to help make your next week easier, and make sure you take those with you. Maybe you're trying some new meal planning tools. Maybe you're trying a new time of day to do your workout, and go ahead and try some new things for the next week and make sure to take with you those things that are working. And over time, you're going to find that you end up with having this little library of things that work for you, and you're also not going to keep trying to do things that don't. And doing this on a weekly basis is I think a really important thing, because I think most of us really kind of tend to do that more on an annual basis, or maybe when we're naturally going through a transition, say when school lets out for summer, we start reevaluating what our daily routine looks like and how we're spending our time. But if you really commit to doing that on a weekly basis, you're going to find yourself moving forward towards your goals so much quicker because you're being so intentional about it. Now, our final routine, and this one is even more important, but more in alignment with the weekly reset, is a monthly reset where you're just doing a more comprehensive version of this. I have a very in-depth blog post, and I recommend downloading my journal prompts. I'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes for you. But this is just a more comprehensive version of your weekly review where you are reviewing and resetting. You're looking at that evening routine, that morning routine, maybe looking at the way you've been doing your meal planning and your shopping. You're looking at things maybe you can outsource, ask another family member to do, your chores in the house. Really just looking at everything and asking yourself what's working, what isn't working, what new things do I want to try, what are my goals for this month. And I think the thing that is really cool when you start doing this on a regular basis is you start seeing the needle move. And it's so amazing to look back at the previous month and see how far you've come, because you don't necessarily notice it on a day-to-day basis. And you can see that leap forward a little bit better when you're looking back on it on a month-to-month basis. For myself, I've obviously had a goal of growing my blog, and every month I do a monthly review and reset, and I analyze how I'm working my business. And it's so cool when I look back to a year ago and see that I have increased the number of people that come to my website by, hold on, math is not my strong suit, but I have increased it by like 15 times, 15x from where I was initially. And I've had so much growth, and it's only because I have really looked back at the way I was doing things and making sure I was doing things that worked and letting go of the things that didn't work. You know, Pinterest was working really well for a while, and then all of a sudden Pinterest changed the way they're doing things, and I stopped doing Pinterest as much as I was before. And I had so much growth because I was focusing on the things that mattered, but letting go of the Pinterest work, which gave me more time to work on the things that mattered. So it really helps you be more intentional and mindful, and you're almost putting a more scientific approach to how you're spending your time, instead of just, thinking about how you feel and what you feel like doing and what you don't feel like doing. Because at the end of the day, as much as you enjoy doing something, if it really isn't getting you the results that you want in any concrete way, then it might not be the right thing for you. So these are my 4 essential healthy habits. Again, this is the evening routine, the morning routine, the weekly reset routine, and your monthly reset routine, which can just be an absolute game changer just by implementing these routines in your life and being honest about what is and what is not working for you. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, we are all about creating your Feel Your Best formula, and this is part of the formula, making sure that we take those healthy habits that we want to accomplish so badly, and we find and create space for them in our lives so that they just become part of our daily, weekly, monthly, and honestly yearly routine, so that we don't struggle with making those moment-to-moment decisions for ourselves. Instead, that decision is made for us. We know when we go to bed at night how we are spending our time the next day. We know when we're getting things done. And at the end of the week and the month, we can look back and be so proud of everything that we accomplished. So I hope you found this helpful. I have so many helpful links for you. I will put them in the show details, and you can always head on over to the show notes on my website, where you'll find even more details, some printables, and other resources based on everything we talked about on this episode. Have a great week, and I will see you back here next Monday morning. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at macroswithlil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them the link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.